So what does it mean to identify yourself as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, and how does that reality play out in daily life? Here in Brooklyn, the Audre Lorde Project and the Brooklyn Community Pride Center have active members who identify in every spectrum of the LGBTQ rainbow. Each day they work directly with their constituents to socialize, address issues, and advocate for policies to create a better quality of life. Before we check in with our guests, let's take a look at this rally organized last December by the Audre Lorde Project called Free Our Sisters, Free Ourselves.
Black trans and gender nonconforming communities. In the words of Black queer organizers Opal, Patrice, and Alicia, who founded Black Lives Matter, we are transforming the story that our Black lives truly do matter.
Have you ever been beaten up and raped in jail? Now think about it.
Tonight I stand in solidarity with all the countless brown and black bodies who lost their lives at the hands of the NYPD. As we have seen in the homicide of Eric Gardner, Mike Brown, and far too many other cases throughout this country's history, law enforcement officials are not held accountable when they kill black people. I am also standing here today to reiterate the police violence is an LGBTQ issue. We know that far too many LGBTQ people, and particularly black LGBTQ people, are regularly profiled, harassed, and subject to police violence. Furthermore, trans women of color are 6 times as likely to experience physical violence when interacting with the police compared to overall survivors. This violence happens every day in the lives of trans people of color, from sex work profiling, misgendering, police misconduct, and countless lives of trans people of color that have been lost to hate violence, whose investigations have been pushed underground.
All right, that is Truth to Power in action over there. Joining us on the set now from the Audre Lorde Project is its membership coordinator, Cleopatra Aquay-Reynolds. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, how are you?
And Danny Cian from the Brooklyn Community Pride Center. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Woof.
All right.
That was a phenomenal lead-in from that day of action. That was December,
Do you guys know
right?
Lala?
Yes, that's one of our core members
cheering?
in our trans justice organizing program. She's absolutely amazing, and she currently works at the Anti-Violence Project as well.
So looking at that and knowing all of the stuff that happened that night and shedding light on some of the problems that are faced by trans women of color in particular and just the community in general, how do you feel we're doing in New York City moving forward on those issues?
I think that we're getting a lot more visibility, but it's visibility through people of power. I know the Caitlyn Jenners and the Miley Cyruses are bringing more visibility to like our vocabulary, but whether it's centering people of color and our issues, and also like with the layer of being identified as like LGBT, where we have a very long way to go. We need a lot more like strength behind our actions. We need a lot more people to come out. We need a lot more support from our allies as well. So,
What are successful events in your eyes, or organizations that are doing this well, that are helping to promote visibility?
For one instance, our Trans Day of Action, an action that we have at the Audre Lorde Project. This year at Christopher Street Pier, we had the largest turnout that we've ever had for a Trans Day of Action. It was beautiful. I think thousands of people had come out that day to hear our points of unity and see where we are and what do our folks need, what do my comrades need who identify as transgender and gender nonconforming to survive and for our day-to-day.
So Danny, you're a youth fellow at Brooklyn's Community Pride Center.
Right.
So what's the trickle down like? You mentioned Caitlyn Jenner and the Miley Cyruses bringing visibility. So is that encouraging people to come out, or it can be a double-edged sword sometimes? It makes other people more resistant. What are you seeing from real life?
From a lot of the youth that come around, I mean, like, I know a lot of them aren't completely in support because they're white people who are coming out as trans, and so a lot of our youth tend to be minorities, and usually minorities from like places that they don't feel safe in. So they like to come to the center to just chill and have other people like them, and not be judged because of their race and things like that.
So like there is that visibility, but like you said, it is sort of two sides of the mirror when a rich white woman comes out as trans versus a poor kid in Brooklyn who doesn't have the benefits of cosmetic surgery and millions of dollars and to be celebrated. So how do you deal with those people and with the young people who are facing those issues? What's the sort of balm for them?
I mean, there's groups for them to join, and even like it's a drop-in center. So if they ever want to come and like have some time with other people that are like them, they can do that too. Like for example, on Thursdays I run a group called TAG, stands for Transgender and Gender Nonconforming Youth Group, and so there is a place where we discuss all the issues that we face as trans people.
One of these major issues is police brutality, right? Stonewall happened 25 years ago, and it seems like we're still kind of facing the same issues. How does it feel on the ground? Do you feel like it still is bad? What can we do? What do the police say about these issues? I mean, just talk to us about your experiences and your constituents' experiences.
Even further back, the math is, yeah.
So at the Audre Lorde Project, we actually have an organizing program called Safe Outside the System, where we create strategies outside of policing and state systems to create community safety for ourselves, because our people can't rely on the state to protect us. We're not there to be protected, and like our namesake has said, Audre Lorde, we were never meant to survive. We weren't meant to survive in this country or in this state or through the system that they have shoveled us into. So we are trying to make a system for ourselves where we can like protect us and have our folks rely on each other to provide security for each other.
For folks that don't know, what are people seeing on the ground? I mean, what are people facing in their day-to-day that this is created for?
Just constant targeting. I myself just moved I was born and raised in the Bronx my entire life. I'm like 27. And every day I walk through just to get to my home. There's, the tower. You see like just police just a constant over-policing of our people just because of what we look like or just because who we want to love or how I want to present myself. And that happens to a lot of our folks, just even going to the subway. A lot of our folks who come to our meetings come in groups or with friends because they don't feel safe even coming to our meetings. And because of that, that stops a lot of folks from getting access to jobs or access to health care, access to housing, and so it's just to even live your life on a day-to-day, police brutality kind of affects you on your mental health, on your physical body, and how you move through the world. And if you can't move through the world, you won't be able to survive. And so we try and do that. We try to cut off a lot of those ties to our oppression through community organizing. That's our prime way to make social change in the world.
So Danny, you're working with young people and you guys have the drop-in center as well. I wondered if you could share something that people who are sort of gender conforming take for granted that folks who are gender non-conforming don't, where it is something on your mind that you're thinking about, or the way that you negotiate a space in just riding the subway or getting to anywhere you need to be. That, people would just take for granted that's not something gender non-conforming folks have to deal with.
Are you sure you want to get me started on this? I'll take a list.
Saying we invited you here today. So let us
Things
know.
like bathroom usage, for example, like because I just started college. When I got there, it was the first time that I actually found out there was a gender neutral bathroom,
Right.
and it's the only bathroom that I use. And
Yeah.
like everyone else is like, they have to use the bathroom, fine. They have like a woman or men's bathroom right there for them, and they have easy access to that. I have to walk all the way to like a certain building to like and go up a certain floor to like just to use the bathroom in peace. In a
Because
way
it
that
exists, but it's only one in one particular building very far away.
Yes.
It's not the Lila Perry question, like the teen in Missouri who's fighting for the right to use the bathroom at Hillsborough, Missouri, somewhere. Yeah.
Things like that, or even like trying to be validated. For example, like when I tell people that I'm non-binary, they usually look at me and they're like, but you know, you're so feminine that you're just, and they go by she pronouns and like
Right.
without fully asking me, or like they just don't see past what I look like for the most part. And what people don't understand is that what I do and how I am is in a way to make myself feel comfortable.
Right.
And not even me, but there are other like non-conforming people who come to the space who deal with the same thing that I do, that are like they're invalidated or they feel unsafe because people just don't respect who they are.
Yeah. So you just seized on something and it like turned on a light bulb in my mind. When we all came in and met, each of you shared your preferred pronouns with Mel and I. And that's one of these conversations that has to happen nowadays before people just make assumptions. So Melody here is a phenomenal actress. So I'm gonna ask you, this is all unplanned, if you guys can sort of do a role play on how an introduction should go, because it's like people are like, I don't know if I should say she or he or whatever. So just do a scenario where it's like a first meeting and how you negotiate that sort of introductions and all that stuff to help
Exactly.
people who have just no idea.
Exactly how you did it when we met. Don't be afraid to do it. Role play
This
scares
is how
people.
you meet someone in 2015 and beyond.
Can I do it?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
What's
how
your
are
name?
you? Melody.
My name's Cleopatra.
Hi,
That's
Cleopatra.
it. That's all. There's no, like, they didn't come up. Like, you can still meet each other the same exact way that you did before. If it comes up or someone offers you information, or if you just want to know, you can just ask, as long as it doesn't, like, intrude into their privacy. There's no real difference. I think the divide of like, there's starting to be a divide between like binary folks and non-binary folks too. You also use a term called gender conforming just now, which just kind of is really funny to me.
Is that outmoded? Am I not to just binary? Is
No,
it really?
because it's gender conforming, which just means that you're cisgender,
means
which means you're just
a
following
construct of
with
gender.
which you're just kind of like, you don't have to say that. Gender non-conforming, it comes from folks who don't fall into the binary, and to say gender conforming is kind of like building up another separation between something that's already been separated between like straight folks and like people who identify as like queer.
See, this is why I watch this show. So on that same theme, the school system and setting up guidelines for education, like New York City, huge school system. All school systems are facing this, but maybe more here than anywhere else. What are the guidelines that the DOE should be following to make sure all kids are educated and comfortable in safe spaces?
I think there should be a talk about pronouns, or even like how to deal with someone who's either coming out or something. Like I know when I was in high school, a lot of the teachers, not all of them knew how to deal with someone who was queer, so they just kind of like, you know, let it happen. But
neglect kind of thing.
right,
Yeah.
but there were other teachers who like actually went out of their way to not only ask for pronouns or to like help people and, you know, be comfortable in their classroom. And I think that's extremely important to like teach the teachers to build a safe space in their own classroom, because sometimes there's not, and then people who are queer identified go into their classrooms and they don't feel safe even sitting there trying to learn.
Right.
And that's important.
Right. So a lot of this is about safety, right, and us feeling safe. Why do you feel communities of color are still so much more at risk and so much more marginalized than other communities here in the city?
I think one thing that we do also at our organization is letting people know that they are being oppressed. Most times you don't even know how there's been so much progression and there's been so much work done, and we've gotten marriage, but some of our folks still can't get married because they're undocumented, or they don't want to because they're too busy trying to figure out how they're going to eat tomorrow. You know, so we have an organizing training that I held that's actually going on September 26th to the 27th this month in the Bronx. Daring to be powerful. Look it up on our website.
All the way to the Bronx.
There's not all the way to the Bronx. There's all the way to Brooklyn. I just wanted to point that out.
right,
Again. But it's like identifying like the different ways that we are oppressed in our daily lives and how can we take back power for ourselves, and not living in a way that we think that there's no other way to live. There are other ways for us to live, and also our allies as well, who are supporting us, could do a lot more. Give us your money. Support us. We're a grassroots organization. We need support to have this type of funding, so we can continue to let other folks of color know how they can, be more in themselves. They can have more power within themselves, and get the type of change that we need to do, and have more power behind our voices as well. We don't want other people speaking for us. We want to be able to speak for ourselves. So,
how else can folks get involved? Any other upcoming events we should know about?
We actually have our annual interpreters training, which is part of our language justice dynamic at the ALP project, at the Audre Lorde project, and that's going to be October 8th to the 9th. So if you're someone who identifies as LGBT, ST, G, and C, I know those are different letters that other people are used to, but Google it. And lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, transgender, and gender non-conforming people of color, and you speak another language, you can come and get trained as an interpreter. It's a 2-day intensive, beautiful training, and then it gives you a lot more job opportunities.
Amen. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been enlightening. You have to come back. And we'll see you from all the way in Brooklyn to the Bronx.
Yes.
On the 26th and 27th this month.
Yes.
Thank you so much.